At the heart of any change you want to see is an originating thought that sets an idea you have into motion. But sometimes when we're trying to make big changes or accomplish a goal that seems complex or uncertain, we lose sight of the fact that every outcome we want is driven first by a powerful thought and then followed by consistent actions. So in this episode, I want to give you a simple formula that you can use to remember that the key to taking meaningful actions and changing our day-to-day reality is simply our ability to first have a powerful originating thought. Here we go. Hey, welcome to the Workday Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Amoroso. Every workday we encounter dozens of situations that we have to navigate in order to have a successful and productive workday. And the way you choose to think through those situations helps shape not only the kind of day you have, but the trajectory of your career. This podcast is all about helping you to navigate those situations, show up at your best, and be happier at work. One of the things that I like to focus on in this podcast is the power of the thoughts you have throughout your workday, and how those thoughts are the drivers for actions you take, which ultimately lead you to outcomes. So in this episode, I wanted to talk about something that's intertwined with that basic idea, and here's the concept. You are today what you thought about yesterday. Or if you want to say it a little differently, we could say your current physical reality is the result of the beliefs you held the day before. So let's break this down just a little bit. We've said this before, but the way you think is always at the root of your day-to-day work experience. Each of us has the ability to decide how we want to perceive what happens throughout our workday. And when we pay close attention to our thoughts, what we realize is that the thoughts that we have really are what set us up for who we become. So our experience as human beings day to day is just the result of actions that we've taken, and those actions originate in and are the result of thoughts that we have had. Every change that we make, every action that we take, they're all rooted in an initial thought. And it's those thoughts that set in motion a string of actions and basically a chain reaction that shapes who we are each day. And who we are today is the result of the way we decided to think yesterday, because those thoughts effectively changed our reality. So the practical application of this is that if we want to have a different day-to-day experience, it doesn't start with our behaviors or our actions. It starts with the thoughts that we have. And we have to understand that we really are capable of making and manifesting physical changes to our workday, to our career, to basically anything that we want, based simply on an originating thought. So let me give you a quick example. A few weeks ago, I visited my family in northeastern Pennsylvania. And on one of those days there, I thought to myself, you know what? I would really like to go to the beach. I'd love visiting the shore, have a ton of great memories from my childhood of spending summers there. So the result of that thought was that we ended up taking a family trip to the beach in New Jersey. Now, we found ourselves at the beach because we took a series of actions that got us there. So after I had the idea, I brought the idea to my family. They said, yes, sounds great, let's do it. We talked about how long we wanted to stay. We packed our bags, got in the car, we drove there, we stopped for gas. We talked about what beach we wanted to go to, parked the car, paid the meter, grabbed all of our stuff, walked down to the water, and voila, we were at the beach. Now, all of those actions took place because a few days before, while I was sitting outside, I had a thought, which was, I really want to go to the beach. I have great memories of it from my childhood and college years, and it was a really strong thought because I could picture myself at the beach, laying out in the sun, swimming, taking naps, all of those good things. And then I took that thought from several days before and I set it into motion and turned it into actions. And that's what eventually got us to the beach and caused me and us to experience a new reality. So if we wanted to express this as a formula, we would say a powerful thought plus consistent actions equals or leads to a new reality, right? Simple enough. But even though it's simple enough, here's the challenge. We have a really hard time translating and applying this very simple formula to what we perceive to be more complex and challenging changes that we want to make, right? So we can easily see how a thought yesterday about wanting to go to the beach can get me to the beach the very next day simply by taking a series of actions. But we really struggle with the idea that we can embrace the same simple thought process to help us achieve loftier goals or pretty much any goal that we have in our personal and professional life. Now, why is that? I think there's a couple of reasons why we get tripped up in applying this really simple formula. But before I do that, let me give you a second example that might help us think through this. Let's say that you want to find a way to make $500 more a month in income. So let's just pretend for a second that in the same way I had my little mini epiphany that I wanted to go to the beach, let's say you wake up one day and you have a thought that you want to make an additional $500 per month to support your family, put towards a down payment on a new home, get a new car, whatever it is. So in my second example, why is it so much harder to work through the formula that I laid out? Why can't we just trust that if I think about something and I take consistent action around that thought, that I can achieve that outcome? I think there's three main reasons why we struggle to apply this same formula. And here are those three. First, my second example seems more complicated, right? So going to the beach seems pretty straightforward. There's potentially more steps and actions that need to be taken in order to arrive at my additional $500 per month than there are at me arriving at the beach. And it might seem as though it requires a lot more effort, though in some cases, maybe not. Second, the path to how to achieve my $500 per month might be much less clear. So unlike going to the beach, which you've probably done before, you may never have tried to make an additional $500 per month. So the path forward to getting to that place is maybe less clear for you. And then third, there's more uncertainty about whether it will work, or at least there seems like there is. I'm pretty sure I can get myself to the beach without a problem, but when I think about something like earning an additional $500 per month, and I start to think about how I might do that, and if I've never done it before, then the limiting thoughts in my brain start to kick in and it starts to feel risky, or I start to think I might not actually be able to do that, right? There's a part of me that is fearful that it won't work, or that I don't know how to do it, or that I'll do it the wrong way, or that I don't want to put myself out there and potentially fail at it, or a whole host of other limiting beliefs that are rooted in fear and lack of information. But what I want you to understand is that each of these three perceived differences can be addressed using the very same simple formula that I used to get myself to the beach. Now, the time it takes to get to the outcome, or the number of times I have to repeat and work through the formula may be different, maybe. But at the end of the day, the same simple formula applies and will get me there. And here's why this same simple formula works. When you continuously focus on positive and constructive thoughts that lead to consistent actions, you set yourself up for a new physical reality that brings you closer to that outcome every day. So each time you have a thought that is directed at realizing that change that you want to see, it sets in motion an action that helps you obtain more information and you move closer to the end outcome that you want, right? Your thoughts basically bring you into a new reality. So that's what I mean by what you thought about yesterday is what you are today. You are a product, and your circumstances are a product of what you've been thinking about. So let's go back to my $500 per month example. When I have the thought that I want to make $500 more per month, that thought leads to some additional thoughts like, how could I actually do that? Right? What are things I enjoy that I could do to make $500 more per month? When would I find the time to do it? Who could I ask for input on how to do this? What resources could I use to get some ideas? And then if you decide to follow through and take the initiative to act on those thoughts, they lead to a series of actions like this. Number one, I'm going to make a list of ideas that could earn me $500 per month. So maybe it's how to bring in one more client. Maybe it's how to start to build my side hustle. Maybe it's signing up for some freelance work. Maybe I'm going to make a budget and cut back on things that I'm already spending on. Those are some examples. Number 2, I'm going to talk to my significant other about blocking off 5 hours per week to work on this, right? I need some time and some space to figure out how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to ask that person to help keep me accountable. Number 3, I could make a list of people I know who have helped other people achieve this, or who I know have done this themselves, so that I can talk to them about how it is that they did it and learn. Or number 4, maybe I'll just do a simple Google search, like how to make $500 more per month. And if you actually do this, it brings up some pretty good results on how you might go about setting this process into motion. So maybe taking these actions will lead you to an immediate solution, and maybe they won't. But in either case, all of these actions lead you to another round of thoughts that lead to another round of actions that get you a bit closer each time to that change that you want to see. So in other words, the new physical reality that I have on day 2 causes me to have a whole new series of thoughts that lead to a new physical reality on day 3 and day 4 and day 5. So in this way, every thought you have the day before leads you to be a different person the next day with more information and better equipped than you were the day before. Now, the challenging part will be that along the way, you may, and you probably will, encounter interferences that will prevent you from seeing the kind of immediate progress that you want to make each day. Or they might interrupt the initial excitement and clarity that you had about the idea, right? So you might find it challenging to find an idea that will earn you $500. You might find it challenging to actually build in the 5 hours you want a week to make this work. It may take you some time to find the right person who can give you the advice that you need. But here's what I want you to know. The people who don't make it to the outcome they want are the ones who stop putting strong thoughts behind the change that they want to see. Because when you stop putting strong thought behind the change you want to see, then your actions no longer align with those thoughts and you stop making progress, right? You stop becoming a different person on day 2 because you stopped putting energy into strong thoughts on day 1. If you wanted to make an extra $500 per month, there simply is no good reason that you couldn't do it. Now, it might take longer than you want. There might be more steps that you need to take than you thought, and you might have to confront some fears that you have around it, but there simply is no reason that you can't experience that new reality. So what I want to leave you with is a request that you focus on this formula. A powerful thought plus consistent actions equals a new reality. And I want you to think about one great idea you've had that relates to changing your workday or the trajectory of your career. So something in the recent past where you said, I wish that X was different. And when you thought about what it would be like to have this additional thing in your life, right? Or what it would be like if you could change X, it got you excited in the same way that I got excited about going to the beach, right? So is it that you want more freedom in your day? Is it that you want to stop worrying so much? Is it that you want to feel more organized, or you want to make more money or spend more time with your family? What is the change that you want to see? Then what I want you to do is think about the simple formula, powerful thought plus consistent actions equals a new reality. And I want you to think about that formula in the context of these 3 key concepts. Key concept number 1, recognize that the change you want to see originates with a strong thought. So I want to go to the beach. I want to make $500 more per month. I want a workday that's filled with less worry and more exciting work, whatever it is for you. You have to recognize that this originating thought is what sets everything else into motion. It's the most important part. So remember that you are today what you thought about yesterday. Key concept number 2. What comes between the thought and achievement of the change or outcome is just simply a set of actions that you decide to take. Those actions give you more information that you can use to have more originating thoughts, but we can't reinforce or inform those originating thoughts unless we take consistent actions. And then key concept number 3 is it's okay if you don't know all the steps to get you there. In fact, it's impossible to know and plot out all the steps with precision anyway, right? So the most important part is continuing to put a powerful thought behind everything that you do. Because if you get stuck, it just means that you need more information, and you can get that information through being intentional about taking more actions. So if you haven't already listened to it, I'd encourage you to check out episode 11 on the difference between plans and planning, which might give you some good ideas on how to go about doing this. So, to sum it up, remember that if you want to have a different reality tomorrow, it starts with changing the way you are thinking today. So, consider this formula, think about one thing you want to change, and decide what actions you're going to take from there. Go have a great workday. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the Workday Mindset Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you could head over to whatever service you're using to tune in and give us a 5-star review. The Workday Mindset Podcast is a collaboration with Populous Radio. Check out their other shows at populousradio.com. Thanks for tuning in, and go get them.